Hi, this is Aha Podcast, and I'm AnnRenee.
And this is Gwen Girl.
We are continuing our conversation about the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. We started last week in a series we've called Life Reimagined. Last week, Gwen Girl and I dove into relationships, awareness of humanity, or end of the world dating, as my co-host Gwen Girl called it.
Esteemed colleague.
Esteemed colleague. Yeah, put the spec on the esteemed. This week we're talking about isolation and the power of human contact.
Yes.
And Gwen Girl's going to jump in a sec, but I just want to give a little bit of my backstory because I am home alone. So I have a son, but he is away at college. So it is just me in the house all alone, me, myself, and I. And, usually I do well with my own company, but this pandemic has stretched even my imagination for entertaining myself. And so I really thought this was something we could really address because I know I'm not the only one, and people are having their own experiences varied than mine and some very close to mine. So we want to talk a little bit about the isolation that has come over the last several months, and really how it has manifested the power of human contact. How
Absolutely.
We are just made to be with each other.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that has been really brought home for me. So Gwen Girl.
Yeah. So to respect all things learned from the experience and pointing toward what is yet to be learned. The first 3 weeks were actually, to be honest with you, it gave me a time to rest. I had no idea I was calibrated so high to live my day-to-day life because it's the way I do my life, and I really enjoy my life. So, busy. I consider myself, because of a lot of self-work I'm doing, especially in this season, someone who's striving to be present. And what COVID did in having our city shut down, and, you're not able to, go to work the same way. And AnnRenee will talk about, this virtual. I've not, my job wasn't such that I did a lot of, I could go into virtual or workspace, if you would. But my day-to-day things, going to the groceries, well, with all of the restrictions and precautions, going to the grocery store, for instance, was a thing that, in New Orleans, we're known for our hospitality, and we're just friendly people. So a grocery store run for me might end up with many conversations, from "girl, I like those shoes" to what you doing with all that stuff in your basket? You having a party? Give me your address. Just kind of knee-jerk things that we say that will cause communication. And so then there's smiles, there's replies, there's just warmth that you can feel coming from people. You're reading expressions. Some people may look like they're having a bad day, and you make a comment, and it's just, just that's what my day-to-day life kind of looks like. And so with the restrictions and everything in place, now you're masked up. And I was one of the ones, because I have an elderly parent who has at least 5 of the underlying conditions that would make COVID, a deadly experience in our home. I was even wearing gloves. And so now, you're in the grocery stores. The only thing that you can really read are eyes. And even though the saying is eyes are the windows to the soul, you're not seeing a full expression of someone. So even a smile that could send energy your way, it's no longer there. And that was a form of contact, even though it wasn't physically touching, but we're connecting with affects that are familiar, a smile, gestures, those kinds of things. People were very cautious about space because so little was known at that point, except for that, it's in the air and, we need to be 6 feet apart. So it isolated us in how we, just did our day-to-day business. And, I started to feel, I don't want to say disconnected from humanity, but I knew something was lost, and it became more glaring after I got the initial rest that I needed from all of my busy interactions. Now I was looking for, and I'm going to say subconsciously, I was looking for balance, and I did not know that balance was just, oh my goodness, I miss the contact that I have, with humanity just in general, because most of my, grocery store comments or, TJ Maxx interactions and things, these are not people I know, but they are human, you know what I'm saying? And so I had no idea that it had such great value to the health and wellness, of my life. So then, that being said, AnnRenee is going to talk a little further about isolation in terms of like that workspace and all of that.
Yeah. Yeah, that was perfect segue because as we again were discussing it, Gwen Girl and I, discussing the series, I started talking about my socialization. And because I worked out of the home 5 days a week prior to Miss COVID showing up, I
Miss
didn't real
Rona, if you're nasty.
Miss okay, yeah. All right. So so in addition to the work that I did during my work day, I also had these great interactions. I mean, we would I remember a particular conversation where one of my colleagues and friends stopped by to introduce me to a work study student, and we had a 3-minute conversation that talked about life, death, plan. It was like so substantial in about a 3 to 5 minute space. And I remember calling Gwen Girl later that day or the next day and saying, I just don't know that uh, men, I said in particular, do they have conversation like this? Like we had an entire layered, nuanced, substantial conversation in 5 minutes. So I'm saying that to say a lot of my interaction with people, as you can imagine, happened at the workplace.
Mm-hmm.
So in addition to the work that gets done, there are also these great conversations. There was a particular colleague of mine. We would sing and we would ask each other if we remember the particular song. 80s was our decade, so we would laugh and talk about that. There are always conversations about food because this is, again, as Gwen Girl said, this is New Orleans. So, we eat our breakfast thinking about what we're going to have for lunch as we make a list to plan for dinner.
Absolutely.
So we would have, conversations about restaurants we'd visited. One of my colleagues was going to, she and her daughter had decided to introduce a new restaurant a month into their eating I can't think of the word I'm looking for. I'm sorry. I lost my train of thought on that one. Repertoire. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So she was they know how much I cook, and by how much I mean how little. So a lot of the conversations were about places I'd visited, restaurants I'd visited, how was the food and everything. So all of these all of these conversations, all of this human contact, all of this energy, this space, this headspace, this joy really is what it is. Because I mean, talking is just talking can be healing. I
Yes.
mean, yeah.
Absolutely.
So all of this in an instant, on a midweek in March, we were told to, when you leave this day, you do not return back to the office. And so all of that for me was gone. All of that conversation, all of that human contact, the joy, the laugh, joking, making fun, popping in offices to say, hey, all stopped abruptly. Yes. So there was definitely that moment when you're like, okay. And so I knew a few weeks into maybe the end of March, early April, I would sit on my porch. Yes, do that too in the New Orleans. And it was so great when you would see someone walking the dog. And I live in a neighborhood. So there is dog walking all the time. There are people on the sidewalk. So it's a definitely a New Orleans neighborhood, but everything had just shut down. It had become still. Cars weren't moving, people weren't talking, you didn't see them outside. So every now and again, when I get a glimpse of someone, but we'd wave to each other,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
you know,
Right.
hey, mask up, just wave, couldn't say much. But yeah, and it was such a different experience. And I really had the only thing I have to compare that to is when I was able to come back into New Orleans after Hurricane Katrina, in the maybe a month or two after that devastation. And I remember driving and looking around and how still everything and quiet everything still was. Now it wasn't, of course, to the level of that devastation, but
Right.
the stillness. It reminded me of that stillness. So, and because I was so busy, which
Mm.
was a good thing. It had its advantages because at least the days moved,
Yeah.
the hours,
Yeah.
the hours went quickly because there was much to do. But when there was that moment when I could look up and grasp for a minute of air, it was all the silence was deafening.
Yeah. 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 Absolutely. Absolutely. Um, for me, my experience with this isolation, even in my home, because now you're aware. I just was, more aware of everyone, and then kind of more aware of my personality. And I have this thing that I say about myself. I say that I am the most antisocial social person you'll ever meet. So people who know me, well, I'm gonna say think they know me, they would not believe that I'm antisocial, because when I'm with people, I am authentically present and with people. I love people. I do people. I was born, to be with people. But I recover in the privacy of my own home. And so then I have a few people that I'm in touch with on the phone, present company included, in my top 3 tier of people that I'm talking to on the phone. And, I'm just private in here, but it is something about having something taken away from you that shines the light on, how we take for granted
Yeah.
certain things. And so then having the ability to freely interact with humanity really touched me differently, because it's one thing to choose to be private, or, choose not to engage and all of that because, I just don't feel like it, but to have it occur to you as my life might depend on me, not interacting with people, because we don't know how this thing is spreading. And so it isolated me in my mind, and I didn't like the insulation of it, that, I've got, you can't be too close, da 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 da, it was fearful, and I don't condone, fearful,
Right.
fearful living, right?
We are against you, fear. You have no place here, fear. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You don't like experiencing that fear. Yeah.
Absolutely. And
Yeah,
I
yeah.
knew that that was now the new replacement for human contact.
Wow.
Abject fear.
Wow.
Yeah, and it was that alone was isolating, because now we're making a life or death choice. You know what I'm saying? I mean, yeah, because that's what you're saying. I can choose to be bold and I love humanity and I have to be with humanity, or in order for humanity to prevail, I've got to step back a minute. And so then just the varying ways that isolation occurred, emotional isolation, sensing the fears and concerns of others. May have had, I know I can speak for myself, I may have leaned in differently, I have some friends that are anxiety driven, and so for those friends, I had to be, a steady place, even though there may have been parts of me that were not sure, but I knew that it was imperative that I help, anchor,
Mm-hmm.
that particular person, because the emotional gymnastics that would ensue from just daily ingesting that. Because I remember when I was fixated on the number of deaths being reported, and I think when I thought we might be approaching 5,000, I was horror stricken, right? 5,000. So, like,
Right.
weigh that with, at the time of this recording, we're 400,000 plus.
Plus,
So,
right.
yeah.
Exactly.
So, truly, I didn't have a gauge of where this bad boy was going, And so, even thinking about, oh my God, possibly 5,000, count them, 5,000 people could lose their lives in the US alone. The isolation that continued to broaden, it's like, where do we go from here? This is horrific. Almost 5,000 people could die if we don't do something, and the only thing we're being told to do is to isolate,
Right.
right? And so then it's like, how do I continue to live? And for me, it's translated, how do I continue to love, you know, and not have human contact? How do I, because at this point, what's the point of it? Because then, your world has become very small, so it's the people in my home, or you take chances. Your love takes chances, it's just like, okay, well, my girlfriend, she's been, we're all like minded, so she's been watching it in the grocery stores and, da 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 da, so, it's a gamble, and
Yeah.
so it's just like, oh, yeah, okay, I think AnnRenee's safe,
Yeah.
so
Yeah. And also at that point too, in time, if I can imagine where you're talking about exactly, is there wasn't an end in sight.
absolutely.
Yeah, it was okay. This thing is here and it's increasingly worse. And quite honestly, we don't know when it's going to be over. We don't know, there's possibility there could be a vaccination at some point in the future.
Right.
But so it was all unknowing. That was another thing that crossed my mind as you were talking, Gwen Girl, is how everything was so unsure. We were so unsure of a lot of things we had been sure of.
Right.
So
Right.
when all of that foundation and stability is immediately not as found, as not as stable, you can become many things. You
Right.
can you can become many things, and you're dealing with many things at the same time. So all of that is happening while you're being told to but stay as much to yourself and away from other people as possible, as
Absolutely.
because this would be the moments when your mind is racing, and your emotions are expanded, that you want to reach out and touch your friends, your
Absolutely.
family, your loved ones. This is when I rely on my girls. Hey, I'm going through
Absolutely.
something here. I'm feeling a certain way. I need to, can I come over? Can you drop by? Can
Yes.
we have lunch? These are the times when you look for, you need, just a very small word that's so true. You need that human interaction. You need that human contact. And what we're told is that could be the very thing that could cause you, if not your death, at least some serious, serious pain, some
Yeah.
serious illness. So imagine
Depression.
depression,
Let's
all
let's
of
let,
these
let,
things.
let's just park. Yeah, let's just park right there. Depression, and especially people who are, air quote,
Hmm.
um, not used to being depressed, or not even knowing that they are able to operate depressed. This now repressed kind of life, sent all of that stuff rushing to the forefront because, say you didn't like your home life, but you loved your work environment. Your work environment now gave you the vigor to be able to do your home environment. You know what I'm saying? If the relationship wasn't on point, or just whatever's going on, at home, it's like having a safe space that involved human contact, where you could
Mm-hmm.
let me just offload some of this home stuff, or leave the stuff at home and then go
Right,
in
right,
a
right.
space where, say your gifts and talents are appreciated, or just who the hell you are. Some people, when they walk in the room, you'd be like, oh, God, I'm so glad she showed up. It's like, why? Because
Right.
I don't know, when she show up, it just,
Yeah. Yeah.
everything
Put a
get better.
smile on your face.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah, yeah.
everything get better. Yeah,
Right, right,
that kind of thing.
exactly.
Yeah. So, the isolation, um, like I said, that there was some good parts early on because um, I think a lot of us, there were these stories when we kind of thought there was going to be a light at the tunnel very quickly. Like I had a short game of July, but I said in my spirit it's like 2 years. But I was just hoping by July there was some stabilization of something. And so then the initial, we've slowed down. People got a chance to do things. And I'm going to say, even we people who realized we were tired, we got a chance to do things, because after about 3 weeks, that was like beyond extended vacation, So I
Mm-hmm.
started gardening. I'm a crochet enthusiast. That's right, enthusiast. So,
That's right.
yeah, 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 just,
We weren't arguing. That's
yeah,
right, enthusiast.
just
Okay.
letting y'all know how I go down here, yeah, and so I started planning a spring collection of crochets, and I was going to venture off into cotton yarns and all of the things that, while I was working pre-COVID, they were just hopes at best, because like I don't have enough time to do this kind of thing. And so my inner creative loomed even larger. But then, after I'd had enough of the hobby out of balance, I was looking for a life in balance, and the thing that had given me the rest now was handing me restriction. And so, it's just a crazy thing. You know what I'm saying? It's just like it was good and it was evil. All of these things. And so then you're sitting with yourself. And I'm a head person, so, and I'm not talking about staying inside of my head, but I love deep conversations. I love deep dives, and so then for the deep dive to be, oh my God, we're almost at 5,000 people. Oh my God, what is this crazy administration not seeing? Oh my God, you know what I'm saying? It's like, it was so one dimensional in terms of what the thing we're looking at. And then it was just so multidimensional in terms of what was now happening, because of isolation. Different statistics were soaring. So domestic abuse was now at an all-time high. That was the first day I heard that. It brought chills, to my body, because I was like, oh my goodness, who would have thought? But think about it. You're now, if you're in an abusive situation, you're now trapped with your abuser. Let's just say work was the thing that kept each one of you, for all intents and purposes, in your respective corner. You knew how to get around it, so you put in your 8, you come home, you can stay out of a person's way until you go to sleep. Now I'm doing 24/7. This elephant in the room cannot be avoided, and so then you're tangling, children are less safe now because where teachers were the place that they received their love, you know what I'm saying? Their, you is good, you is kind, you is important, situations, it's like now they're at home, they're experiencing the abuse by proxy. You know what I'm saying? It just the horrors of this thing, it's like, oh my goodness, it's like, and then the next thing, and I hate this, and I'm going to say this just to make it relevant to what's being said. Families are now food insecure. I'm about to go off right there. What the hell is food insecure? And not that I don't know what it means, but let's just call a thing. They damn hungry. Because see, you had me at hungry. Now trying to say they're food insecure, what does that mean? I'm food insecure. I don't think I have enough. As opposed to my belly is sticking to my back. Because see, when you say a child is hungry, everything, my maternal instincts, you know what I'm saying? My survival instincts, everything is charged. Because you say you're hungry. When you're having a polite conversation, well, yeah, I think some of the kids in the city may be food insecure. I want to go to hell off because food insecure to me intimates that they may not have some of the fruits and veggies they want. They're insecure because they don't have all of the other things that other people have, but they do have some things. I hate it. I hate it. Hungry. Hungry says it all. It says it all. So yeah, that was my soapbox.
Yeah, I'm glad you even brought that up because I'm thinking because the schooling situation, since I am again home alone and my big boy is away at school, but I was just thinking about how important school is, of course, educationally, developmental, but how you also remove relationships. When we were talking about the removal relationships at my job, how in food, how you could count on lunch
Yeah.
at schools, how even if you had some buddies, primarily were your buddies at school, you might have share rides home, you may get to a play date, and so maybe if there is a little shortage of food at your home and you're visiting your friend Bobby, and Bobby mom says, well, do you want to eat? I'm feeding Bobby's. You had there was a meal there. So with all of this human contact being totally, if not ended, certainly minimized, it impact. There was an impact on the whole eating situation.
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah. So how
Absolutely.
certain things can impact other areas of our lives, it's just been amazing to,
Amazing.
yeah,
Amazing.
amazing to spend time just realizing,
Right.
realizing that.
Right. Right.
Um,
Right. Right.
and one thing I noticed, and I'm just something else you were saying made me think about this, is that I was again working head down.
Butt up. I'm telling you, that's the way
Yeah,
to
and
say
not
it.
even 8. This is funny because my 8-hour days were turning into 12, 10 and 12-hour days. Because it was like, okay, if you're home, somehow you've expanded time. You've become some kind of superpower in
Right.
this this pandemic. You can now stretch time, so you can get you can get you can now you can now work like 16 hours a day. You're a super worker.
Because
So
somehow employers thought because you were at home you were goofing off.
yeah, yeah, like that, or you just really, there was just more time. So one of the things I noticed after months, I mean months on end of just really being working from the morning until the evening, I finally would have to say, okay, that's it. I gotta stop. Is that my weekends then, when I would at least try to sort of do some getting together with my friends, if there's nothing else, is talking on the phone, just some sort of interactive, I would just be literally pinned to the bed. There would be weekends I've spent just in bed. Not sick, not hurting,
Mm-hmm.
just tired.
Yeah.
So that could bring about another, sense of here alone. Here I am alone again. And something else about my about television, because we got to talk about that. We're still TV and movie heads. Is that I realized I was watching a lot of nostalgic TV, and I think I think it had to do with just wanting to go back to something some simpler. I unlike Gwen Girl, I spent very little time on the deaths earlier. First of all, I couldn't even find the time to look at it. But what I did, I didn't spend much time on it. And I remember a particular day when I did. And I think the numbers at this point were reaching maybe 100,000 deaths in our country.
Huh.
And I remember that messed me up it just settled in my spirit, and for days I couldn't shake that feeling.
They had me
But
at 5,000, but go ahead.
yeah, about 100. So when I was like 100,000, it was just I guess the mind starts imagining what that looks like in terms of actual bodies, and
Mm.
how it impacts, for me, how it impacts families, and just what we have lost, the true loss of all of those people, the moms, the dads, the granddads, the friends, the workers, the gifts, the talents, the dreams,
Wow.
just
Wait,
all just
park
just
right, park right
yeah,
there.
so I think
Ooh.
that would it just lingered in my spirit
Mm.
so much, so I think I did an escapism. It was like, you know what? I'm just gonna watch Mary Tyler Moore. I am
Mm.
I'm going to, if I'm not working, I'm just going to be I'm just have to check out some Mary Tyler Moore or some different world or something, because this is too much. It's almost like I had to put a cap on this. Is too much.
Um,
So I'm gonna have to pause. I'm going to pause myself, and then I'm gonna pause and let Gwen Girl speak.
okay, yeah, because I was about to climb through the mic and just come over there by your house, because man, you hit me. I'm messed up right now. Where I framed, COVID as no respect of persons, and so I my framework was it attacked the billionaire, the beggar, the housewife, the female, CEO, just how babies have gotten it. It touched everybody. And though I calculated that no one was safe and da 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 da, and I was looking at us as humanity, it did not register the gifts, the talents, the future this, the up and coming that was lost in the lives, that COVID-19 took. And I'm telling you that you blew my mind. So I have a stutter here
Sometimes we
because
minister to ourselves and
yeah,
to each other.
yeah. And like I said, and what's so profound about that is that, for those of you who don't know, one of the things that I say about my gifting is that, I identify gifts in other people. I esteem gifts. And so for that to even go over my head, that particular framework, my goodness, that has moved me in a way that I have to sit with that, because I am a student of framework is everything, and I've got to frame that in a way that motivates me the more to
Good.
activate gifts, and when I mean activate, there are a lot of sleeping giants, and sometimes it takes one conversation. So AnnRenee, I tell you, I am full over here about that. I really could cry. So that's yeah. Thank you. Thank you
Yeah.
for I'm so serious, y'all.
No, really, yeah. I think,
Here.
something
Yeah.
I said months ago when I was speaking to a pastor, and I said, I'm a woman of faith. I know Gwen Girl is a woman of faith. We have faith, but then we have to treat serious things seriously.
Mm.
That doesn't make us, it's not there's a teaching I sat through, oh gosh, decades ago. It had to be at least 2 decades ago. And this pastor said, we have to know the difference between faith, foolishness, and fantasy.
Mm.
And so in this pandemic, we have to know the difference between faith, foolishness, and fantasy.
So,
So you can be in faith and still treat serious things seriously.
now that sounds like that's your reflective perspective. Is that
That's
your?
definitely that's my aha moment,
All
my
right.
reflective perspective, my gugacha mandacha.
Okay.
You know,
Okay.
I don't know what that is, but it's that too. Because
Absolutely.
definitely, yeah, that's been my thought process because I when I spend a little time flipping through either TV, but mostly I'll flip through some social media sites and I see these men and women of God who are
God.
God who are telling you, not to mask up or come to church and God is going to protect us. Faith, foolishness, and fantasy. Know the difference.
This is Gwen Girl.
And this is AnnRenee.
Host.
Aha podcast. We're talking life reimagined, COVID-19. There is much to say. So we have a third part we're calling uncertainties and the relevance of now. Listen to us next week. Thank you so much for joining us. We want to hear from you. We'll see you next time.
Happy listening.
Bye.
Bye.